One eye was damaged, one arm had withered. His leg dragged, and later his hearing faded almost into silence. Yet this Neanderthal did not die, and those injuries happened, or soon after. He survived for years in a landscape of cliffs, bitter cold, dangerous predators, and constant physical work. His healed bones preserved the first answer. Survival had probably become a group project, but that answer is not as simple as declaring that his companions felt compassion exactly as we do. To understand it, we must reconstruct what his damaged body could still do each ordinary day. Scientists call him Shanidar 1. After a vast cave in the mountains of northern Iraq, he lived roughly 45,000 years ago, among small Neanderthal communities moving through Southwest Asia. When archaeologists examined his partial skeleton, they found an extraordinary life written in healed and remodeled bone. A crushing blow, perhaps early in adulthood, had broken the bone around his left eye. The injury may have left that eye partly or completely blind for the rest of his life. Damage also affected the right side of his body, where the shoulder and upper arm became unusually thin and weak. His right forearm was missing, although nobody can prove that another person deliberately amputated it as treatment. His right foot had fractured, several joints were worn, and both legs recorded years of an uneven gait. Every journey over loose rock, wet ground, or steep slopes would have demanded more time, energy, and attention. Decades after the original study, researchers looked inside his ears and found another serious problem hidden in bone. Rounded bone had grown into both ear canals, narrowing the passages that carried sound toward the eardrums. He was probably hard of hearing, perhaps severely, in a world where quiet warnings could matter most. Imagine crossing a crowded rocky slope while seeing poorly on one side and missing quiet signals from behind. You cannot easily hear falling stones, a companion's urgent call, or a stalking animal moving behind you. You cannot catch yourself normally when your weak side slips beneath a heavy load. And carrying food, fuel, sharpened tools, or restless child becomes a completely different calculation. Any one disability might remain manageable through practice. Together, these limitations multiply one another's risks. That dangerous combination is why Shanidar 1 matters more than another isolated example of a single healed fracture. He did not merely survive the first painful days after one catastrophic accident or infection. The major injuries healed, and his muscles, joints, and movement patterns adapted over a long period. He eventually reached roughly 35 to 45 years of age. According to the Smithsonian estimate, that was not the maximum possible Neanderthal lifespan, but it made him an older adult within the known fossil sample. So what could other people have done without modern medicine, mobility devices, stock kitchens, or permanent buildings? The most important help may have looked almost invisible and ordinary, sharing valuable food every single day. Someone who returned with fresh meat, roots, nuts, or plants could divide portions without leaving any archaeological trace. Traveling companions could also slow their pace, choose safer paths, redistribute heavy loads, and wait at difficult crossings. Near camp, a warning touch, direct eye contact, or broad visible gesture could replace a spoken call he missed. At night, others could position him inside the sleeping group, away from the coldest and most exposed edge. None of those brief repeated actions fossilize. That is why responsible researchers must phrase the case carefully. Bones show long survival with compounded impairment. They do not show who carried food, how often, or why. Skeptics correctly warn that injured wild animals sometimes adapt, forage, and survive without anything resembling human-style nursing. A limp, missing hand, damaged eye, or lost tooth alone does not prove constant dependence on another individual. But Shanidar 1 did not face only one isolated limitation at a time. His reduced vision, hearing, balance, landscape mobility, and right arm function all operated together throughout daily life. The longer he survived through changing seasons, the harder complete isolation becomes to explain convincingly. Support also does not mean he contributed nothing to his community. A human group needs more than the fastest hunter or strongest carrier. Tools must be repaired, hides scraped, fires maintained, food processed, and children watched. Knowledge of paths, weather, animals, and dangerous places can outlast physical strength. Shanidar 1 may have performed such work, but his exact role is unknowable. That uncertainty reveals a better question than whether Neanderthals were simply kind. Could their way of life absorb a person whose abilities had changed? The evidence suggests that, at least in this case, The answer was yes. Care may not have been an exceptional rescue performed by one heroic companion. It could have been built into daily cooperation, food sharing, protection, pacing, and useful work. That system protected everyone, because injury was never a rare possibility. One fall, infection, broken tooth, or violent encounter could change any member's value overnight. Helping an impaired adult therefore preserved experience, relationships, and future health. It also made the group more resilient than individuals forced to survive alone. Shanidar one's skeleton cannot prove tenderness, sacrifice, or the words spoken around his fire. It proves something quieter. His injuries heal, his limitations accumulated, and life continued. Somewhere in that continued life were other people, changing survival from strength into cooperation.